All right, everybody, we're going to be talking about integers, and we're going to be talking about multiplying integers, positive and negative numbers, and we're going to use the chip model to explore the patterns, and from those patterns, we're going to derive some algorithms, and from those algorithms, we are going to predict how to solve these problems in the future. So let's start by looking at this sign right here. This sign means multiplication. It also means 3 groups of 6. And since both numbers are positive, we are going to look at the first number. If it is positive, we are going to put things on the board. If the first number is negative, we're going to take things off the board. And the rest of the sentence will tell us what we're doing. So the first number here is positive. 3 times 6, 3 groups of 6. So we're going to put 3 groups of 6 on the board. And our answer should be pretty obvious. We got 1 group of 6, 2 groups of 6, 3 groups of 6, and our answer is positive 18. No problems there. The next problem, 3 groups of negative 6. The first number is positive, so we're going to put these groups on the board. What am I putting on my board? 3 groups of negative 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1 group of negative 6, 2 groups of negative 6, 3 groups of negative 6. And what's my answer going to be here? Negative 18. So a positive times a positive equals a positive. A positive times a negative equals a negative. And now this is where it gets a little tricky, at least from the chip model perspective. If the first number is negative, I'm going to take off my board. What am I going to take off my board? 3 groups of positive 6. But because nothing's on my board, what do I need to put on first? Yes, that's right. Neutral pairs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I am going to take off my board 3 groups of positive 6. 1 group of positive 6, 2 groups of positive 6, 3 groups of positive 6. And when I take those off my board, I am left with what's left behind when you take away the positives? The negatives. Negative 18. And that's your answer. Okay, this brings us to our last problem. Our last problem is we are going to be taking off the board because our first number is negative, but this time instead of taking the positives off the board, we're going to take off the board 3 groups of negative 6. So I still need my neutral pairs, and I need 3 groups of 6 neutral pairs so I can take off the proper items. Now, I'm taking off 3 groups of, this time, negative 6. So I circle 1 group of negative 6, 2 groups of negative 6, 3 groups of negative 6. And when I take those off the board, what's left behind? My answer is positive 18. So hopefully you see how that happens. Guess what? This pattern works for all positive and negative numbers. A positive times a positive is going to be a positive. A positive times a negative is going to be a negative. A negative times a positive is going to be a negative. And a negative times a negative is going to be a positive, which seems weird and unusual. So let's think of what those rules might be. A negative times a negative is a positive, and a positive times a positive is a positive. So let's tell a little story about, let's see, who should we pick on? Grant. Grant decides to go to the mall with somebody he thinks is special. And they've been walking around the mall talking about things and Fortnite and other stupid middle schools type things. And Grant says to the person he thinks is special, "Hey, I'm not hungry. Let's keep walking around." And the special person says, "Guess what? I'm not hungry either. And they're both happy because they agree. They are happy because they agree. And the date continues. And then, a little while later, Grant says, hey, special someone, I am hungry. And the special someone says back to Grant, guess what? I'm hungry too. And they are once again happy because they agree. And the date continues. Yay for Grant. The next week, Annie goes to the mall with her special someone. And they've been walking around for a while and getting a little bored. And Annie says, hey, I'm not hungry. Let's do this. I'm not hungry. And her special someone says, but wait, I'm hungry. And they are both sad because they don't agree. And when they're sad, your answer is negative, and the date ended because they didn't agree. And so Annie decides, you know what, I'm not going to give up on love. And she brings another special someone to the mall the next week. And again, the same thing happens. They're walking around for about an hour. And she says, hey, I'm really hungry. And the special someone says, I'm not hungry at all. And they're both sad because they don't agree. And the date is over. So what are the rules telling us? If your signs agree, negative, negative, positive, positive, your answer is positive because you both agree. And if your signs are disagreeing, negative, positive, or positive, negative, then your answer is negative because you don't agree and you're sad. So that's all you have to remember for the rules here. If your signs agree, positive, positive, negative, negative, your answer is positive. Or if your signs disagree, negative, positive, or positive, negative, your answer is negative. So let's look at an example. 3 times negative 4. Answer, positive or negative? Shout it out. Negative. Negative 3 times 4. Negative. 3 times 4. Positive. And negative 3 times negative 4. And that's as simple as it is. Let's do it.